Today I'm breaking down all of the upgrades I've done to my truck to transform it from this to this. We'll look at where to start, what's actually worth it, and what I'll probably skip next time. So if you're looking to build the ultimate adventure rig or just want to upgrade your daily driver, I've got some tips that could save you a lot of time, money, and headache. So let's get into it. Let's start with, well, what I started with and what I'd suggest you start with, the lift, wheels, and tires. These three upgrades made the most noticeable difference in ride quality, off-road and snow performance, and, well, looks. So I went with the 2.5-inch suspension lift from Rough Country, as well as these bronze 87 series wheels, also from Rough Country, and 35-inch Falken Wildpeak AT4s. And let me tell you, I get compliments on my wheels probably more than anything else on this truck. Now, this photo is with the 33s, but you can still see how much of a difference just these three upgrades made initially. The truck looks meaner and leaner and gained about 4 inches of clearance. With just that clearance, I was able to do pretty much everything I wanted to, from Imogene in Colorado to driving part of the Rubicon Trail in Tahoe. All told, for a Rough Country lift, wheels and tires, you'd be looking at about $2,500 on the lower end, and you can spend really as much as you want on these. I have the Falken Wildpeak AT4s now, and I've had the AT3s previously. These tires are quiet, they ride great, and have blown me away with their grip in everything to mud, sand, and of course, the Wildpeak's crown, snow. Next up, let's talk about something that's not as performance oriented, but should probably be just as high on your list if you're building out an older rig: modernizing your truck. In that regard, the first thing I've done on any of the older vehicles I've owned is swap out the head unit. Older head units don't play well with your phone, they don't show lots of info, and frankly, they just look old. So for this truck, I bought a cheap head unit off Amazon and have been quite happy with it. The quality isn't the same as some of the really nice head units out there, but it was still a huge upgrade on stock. The head unit has CarPlay, Bluetooth, touchscreen, backup camera, and front camera integration, and of course, a higher output. On the topic of a backup camera, that makes a big difference as well, if it's done right. You often see people with those stupid license plate cameras, or even the one that come free with the head units on their cars, and that dates a car like nobody's business. It also just looks horrible. But a well-integrated backup camera is like Botox on a soccer mom. It takes the years off. It's also, just again, very nice to have. I once again turned to Amazon and bought a new tailgate handle with the camera built in. Last on the S-tier upgrades list is swapping out your lights. And I don't mean those over-the-top redneck bling halo lights that make your truck look more like it's trying too hard and make it look like you're missing teeth. Instead, I mean look for headlight assemblies that are clean and simple, but more modern. Don't try to match the look of a 2025 on a 2005, it won't fit in. I looked all over and eventually settled on Amazon yet again. Now, your headlights won't look right if they are LED, but your license plate lights, your reverse lights, and your interior lights are all halogen. So, make sure you swap those out at the same time. These are very cheap upgrades and they match nicely. That said, especially on your reverse lights and your license plate lights, you don't want to order the cheapest ones off Amazon. They keep breaking. Instead, go down to your local parts store and get bulbs built to last. If your seats are starting to show their age, upgrading to leather is a solid move. I did it and it made the interior feel brand new. You can do that by either finding takeouts at a junkyard or on eBay from the same model with a higher trim or just less wear, or by going with Catskins or Clasio's super fitted leather seat covers. Most seat covers look just like seat covers, and that takes away from the factory feel of a vehicle instantly. But both Clasio and Catskin make super tight seat covers that completely transform your interior. For mine, I did Clasio and added heated seats to my front seats while I was at it. And that alone made a big difference, particularly on snowy mornings. I would definitely start with the head unit in the interior and refreshing the seats. But if you've got more cash to spend, the next two interior upgrades I did also made a massive difference to the feel of the interior. First, sound deadening. I've had it sound deadening under all the carpet, between anything that rattles, behind all the door panels, and in the firewall. And the ride is way quieter now. It feels far more premium and a lot less old. The last nice-to-have upgrade is a full ceramic tint. This is the first upgrade that I'm advising you to have done by a pro. Purple peeling tint is a great way to ruin your rig. Get it done right. But the tint really does make the interior feel more premium, it's less hot, and you don't get cooked while you're on a road trip. Now, I had every window done, including my windshield, and in Arizona, some windshield tint is legal, so I am in the clear, even if all my tint around could potentially be beyond the legal threshold, theoretically speaking. I've never been pulled over for it. You're probably fine. That said, check your state's laws, and I am definitely not advising you to break the law, just observing that some are stupid. Now, if you're into camping, the roof rack and tent setup are absolute game changers. It is a bigger investment, but totally worth it if you spend a lot of time camping. We love the rooftop tent. It comfortably fits me, the wife, and the dog. We added a 1.5-inch mattress topper to our tent, and nowadays, we'd both rather sleep in the tent than our king-size bed at home. It allows us to set up and camp quickly and be comfortable, well, wherever we want to be. I got my Smitty Built XL off of Facebook Marketplace from some frat boy who had never used it, so it only cost about $300. Plus the rack, which was somewhere around $400. But again, that adds up to like 2 or 3 nights in a hotel. So if you travel a lot, it might be worth it. Now let's talk about the extras. These are your bumpers, your light bars, your exhaust, and in my case, your Raptor liner paint job. Bumpers are cool and give the truck a tough look, but they're not essential unless you're really a rancher and you're hitting deer all the time. I rocked the factory chrome bumpers on my truck for quite a while before I bothered swapping them out. That said, I'm a big fan of the rough country front bumper I bought for my truck. It came with some very high quality light bars to replace the cheap ones I got off Amazon, which actually, to be fair, were well worth the $100 they cost, but the new ones are better in about every way. For a rear bumper, I tried everything to find an off-road style bumper that would work, but they all required me to lose my ability to tow by losing the factory towing bracket. So I once again turned to Amazon for a black rear bumper with light cutouts. And then I, of course, added lights. Light bars are super nice to have, and if you're out in the woods all the time at night like I am, they border on being a must-have. The rear ones aren't anywhere near as necessary, but they are useful for seeing behind you, and most useful for telling off tailgaters. You've probably noticed the truck's had a few looks throughout the video. Red, green with a vinyl wrap, and now this textured gray Raptor liner finish. Let's start with the vinyl wrap. I had the benefit of a father-in-law who knew how to wrap a vehicle, and it really did turn out great. It took us about 2 whole days as well as prep beforehand as we took everything off and cleaned it properly, and it looked amazing for 6 months. But the vinyl just doesn't hold up like paint, especially on a truck that you take off-road all the time. So about a year later, in lieu of fixing the vinyl, I decided to go for it and try Raptor liner. Now, this paint job is no small undertaking. It was a ton of work, but if your paint is peeling or fading, it is an awesome way to change the look of your truck and add some durability. I did the Raptor liner myself with the help of family and friends, and while it was a huge project, the results were well worth it. But be warned, it's not cheap. It's cheaper than paint, but you're still looking at around $1,000 just for materials. It's a ton of labor. If your paint is in decent shape, this is just straight up something I would tell you not to do. But mine was fading and peeling, and I wasn't a big fan of the red, so I did it. So far it's held up great, and it keeps me from cringing every time I brush on a tree or a bush on the trail. I have a video on this planned as well in the future, so we'll get there later. Now what about an exhaust? When I got this truck, I had the loudest exhaust ever. It hurt your ears. It was somehow louder with an exhaust than the truck was straight piped. So I got a new one. I got this exhaust from American Trucks. It sounds great, keeps the truck from sounding like a vacuum, but it doesn't drone when you're on the highway. So I like it. And while we were out filming this video, someone actually told me it was the best sounding truck they'd ever heard, so that was nice to hear. But it's not a must-do unless you're really chasing performance. Speaking of chasing performance, we get to the upgrades I would definitely not do again, nor suggest you do. I added a Magnuson supercharger and all the trappings that go with that. So, performance spark plugs, higher flow air intake, upgraded fuel pump, high flow fuel filters, Cobra SVT injectors, and a tune. Don't get me wrong, it's fun, it's fast, it's cool, it sounds fun, but it was a process to get here. Alright, let off. Stop touching it. You're not doing that? And if you want to go fast, just buy a cheap muscle car and rip it around. You don't want to be stuck chasing down gremlins on the side of the road in your daily driver. You want to be stuck on the side of a mountain, the interstate, your office, a road trip. I've been in all of those situations and it's just not fun. But I will make a full video on this very soon, so I won't bore you here. To boil it all down, if you're looking to upgrade your truck, start with the lift, wheels, and tires. The biggest difference for sure. Modernize the rig with LEDs and a CarPlay head unit, and then focus on the interior comfort with sound editing and maybe some leather seat covers. The rest? Nice to have, but not game changers. And as for engine upgrades, unless you're ready for a lot of work, I'd say keep it simple. Do a cold air intake and an exhaust if you really want to feel like you're going faster. But don't spend all your time working in the garage and instead go out and explore. Thanks for hanging out. If you found this useful, don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.